everyone. Today you're going to learn how to find the slope of a line using the slope formula. Before we were using the triangle method. Now we're going to use the slope formula because you're not always going to be able to have a graph where you can draw a triangle. So knowing the slope formula allows you to find the slope if you have a table or if you're just given a couple of points, which are the two other places that we're going to learn to apply the slope formula today. So the first thing I'm going to do, just so that I know whether my answer is right, because I do have a graph here, I'm going to use the triangle method to find my answer and then check my answer after I've done the slope formula. So I drew a triangle. Again, doesn't matter if I do it on top or bottom. And I'm going to look at the rise over run. My rise is 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And my run is 2. So my slope, it should be 4 over 2. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. And looking at it, it goes up, left to right. So I know that that's a positive 2. But now I'm going to use the slope formula. So the slope formula is M. M stands for slope. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now notice that y2 minus y1, that's my rise, right? Y is our rise. X2 minus x1, that's our run. We're still doing rise over run. And just like in the warm-up where we use subtraction to find the distance between 2 points, I'm going to find the distance on y between this point and this point. So let's take a look at it. First, I have to identify what my 2 points are. I'm going to have a 0.1 and a 0.2. I'll call this 0.1 and I will call this one 0.2. It does not matter which one you call which. You're going to get the same answer either way. So I could have called this one 0.2 and this one 0.1. I would come up with the same answer. Okay, so 0.1 is at 0, -3. 0.2 is at 2, 1. So I've identified my 2 points. Since this is 0.1, this is my x1, y1. And since this is 0.2, I can call this x2, y2. All right, now I'm going to take those points that I identified and plug them into the formula. So my slope is equal to y2. Let's see, where's y2? Y2 is right here. It is, my y2 is 1. So I'm going to say 1. And then I got to keep my subtraction, take away. My y1 is -3. So take away -3. Now be careful. A lot of people forget, since there's a minus here, they leave out one of the minuses. They think, oh, well, there's already a minus there. You have to have both. You're subtracting -3. That's going to go over my x2. X sub 2 is 2. And my x sub 1 is 0. So I'm going to do 2 take away 0. So basically, up here, I'm taking 1 and subtracting -3. Remember, when you're subtracting a negative, it's the same thing as adding a positive, so that's +4. Oops, let me scoot over a little bit. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. Then I'm taking 2, take away 0, and that is 2. Now this is starting to look familiar, right? 4 over 2, we had that right here. It's the same thing. We just found how far apart are the points on y, how far apart are the points on x, and we get the same answer of positive 2. So that's the first problem. So really, really important. Another mistake people make a lot is they just try to do too much in their head. They think they don't need to write down the formula. They think they can just kind of throw the points in there without being really careful and labeling them first. So many people will get the y's mixed up. The most important thing is it doesn't matter which one is 0.1 and 0.2, but if this is 0.1, you have to make sure this stays x1 and this stays y1. You can't keep this x1 and then use the y2 in there. You can't trade the points. Like the ones always have to be the ones and the twos always have to be the twos. Let's take a look at another problem. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Again, I'm going to just use the triangle method first to see what my answer should be. As long as I have a graph there, it's nice to have that extra way of finding points. And I'm just going to use the points they gave me, which are these two. I'm going to do rise over run. My rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going from 3 down to -4. That's 7 steps. And I'm going from -3 to +2. That should be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my rise over run is 7/5. It's okay to leave it an improper fraction, and it can't be simplified. Looking at my slope, it goes up left to right, so I know my slope should stay positive. All right, first thing I do is I just write the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It doesn't matter which one I call 0.1 and 0.2. This time I'll call this 0.1 and this one 0.2. So my 2 points are 0.1 is at 2 in the lobby 2, up the elevator 3. 0.1 is at 2, 3. And 0.2 is at -3, -4. Now I can label them. Since this is 0.1, this is x sub 1, y sub 1. 0.2 has x sub 2, y2. So first x, first y, second x, second y. I'm going to plug them into the formula. y2. I'm going to look for my y2. My y2 is right here. It's -4. Take away, don't forget your subtraction. Take away. My y1 is 3. And then on the bottom, I have x2 take away x1. My x2 is -3. And my x1 is +2. Take away +2. Oh gosh, guys, you couldn't see that. I'm sorry. Oh, better. Okay, -4 take away 3. I'm at -4 on the number line, and I go down 3 more. That's going to be -7. -3 down 2 more. That's going to be -5. Now notice, you have a negative being divided by a negative. A negative divided by a negative is always positive. Those two negatives kind of cancel each other out. If I only had one negative there, then I'd have a negative slope, but I have 2. That's a negative being divided by a negative. My final answer is +7/5. All right, one more. Intentionally did one with a negative slope here. Okay, I'm going to draw my triangle. Sorry, my cat is going crazy. There's a cardboard box on the floor over there, and he's having a good time with it. Okay, I'm going to check out my rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My rise is 5, and my run is 1, 2, 3, 4. Rise over run. So 5/4, and it's negative because it's going down left to right. Throw a pin at him. Okay, slope formula. Slope, M stands for slope. My rise, so the distance between the points on Y over run, the distance between the points on X. Zoom out just a little bit. Okay, first I have to identify my 2 points. I'll call this point 1, point 2. Again, it doesn't matter which is which. I could have called that point 2. I could have called that point 1. I'm going to name my coordinates. Point 1 is at -3, +2. And point 2 is at +1, -3. Did I say +1, -3? Since this is my point 1, it's going to have x1, y1. And since this is point 2, it's going to have x2, y2. Now, my only job, I got to do it carefully. It's not hard, but it needs to be done really carefully, is to take my values and plug them into the formula. So y2 is -3. I'm going to put that there. Subtract my y1 is 2. Over my x2 is 1. I'm going to take 1, take away -3. Remember, you have to have this minus and this minus. You can't just say, oh, there's already one there. That's good enough. No, you got to keep both of them. All right, once again, we're subtracting a negative. When you subtract a negative, it's like adding. So it's 1 + 3 on the bottom, which is 4. And on the top, I have -3, take away 2. That's 2 lower than -3, which is -5. And unlike the last problem where I had 2 negatives, remember, a fraction is basically division. This is the same thing as -5 divided by 4. I only have 1 negative. So a negative divided by a positive is negative. So I keep -5/4. They match up. So my final answer is the slope is -5/4.